My name is Aaron Keith, and Luther Keith is my father. I say is because his legacy is definitely alive and well. ARISE Detroit stands for Activating Resources, Inspiring Service, and Empowerment. This is exactly what my dad was all about, the belief that anyone could make a difference because everyone could be of service. 19 years ago, my dad sketched his vision for ARISE on the back of a napkin. At its heart, it was about inspiring hope and pride. Pride in your block, pride in your neighborhood, pride in your community. He wanted people to take care of each other, to believe they had the power to make real change, to take ownership of the direction their community was headed, and to feel strength in numbers. He believed neighborhoods rise when people work together, not just complain, but roll up their sleeves and put in the effort. One of his sayings, which I believe is something my grandmother actually used to say pretty often, sums up his philosophy perfectly. He'd say, "Jesus is coming to save us, but he probably ain't coming tonight. So what are we gonna do in the meantime?" For my dad, it wasn't about wavering faith. It was about pairing faith with works. We can shout our grievances to the rooftops. We can hope for better days, but we also have to take action now. He often told a story about the chicken and the bread. There was a chicken on a farm who wanted to bake some bread, so she went to her fellow animal friends for help. "Mr. Cow, will you help me bake this bread?" "No, I'm too busy." "Mrs. Horse, will you help me bake this bread?" "No, baking bread is pointless. It won't change anything." "Mr. Sheep, will you help me bake this bread?" "No, I don't have any reason to help you bake bread. Do it yourself." So the chicken, undeterred, figured out a creative way to gather the ingredients herself. She toiled in her kitchen, baking the bread and finally setting it on the windowsill to cool fresh out of the oven. When the delicious smell spread, all the animals came asking for a piece. The chicken had a choice: share with those animals on the farm who hadn't helped, or reserve it for those who had. The story is really a metaphor. In every community or neighborhood, there are people who honestly need the bread, people who would be nourished by the bread, but someone with vision has to decide they're going to bake it. That someone could be you. And sometimes someone in your community is already baking the bread. Then the question becomes, are you going to help bake it with the capacity, resources, and skills you do have? Or are you going to wait outside the window until it smells good? Be the person in your community who helps bake the bread. That's what ARISE Detroit is all about. I am so proud of the legacy that my dad left, not just of service, but of genuine kindness. I miss him tremendously every single day, but we honor him by making sure our neighborhoods continue to rise for decades to come.
I believe in the vision that Luther Keith had regarding the city of Detroit and the opportunity to showcase good things happening in Detroit. And so that's what brought me in, having followed him from being an editor for the local newspaper. And when he retired, his desire was to showcase in a more positive light Detroit. And so he came up with ARISE Detroit. And so I've been with him from the very beginning when he was over on Field Street off of behind Kettering High School. He called the first meeting of community leaders across the city, and I think maybe about 50 of us showed up. And so that was the beginning, and I've never lost faith in him and his vision.
I know that here at the Eastside Community Network, ARISE Detroit really embodies what we call our love for the community, and that love represents 3 C's: committed, caring, and courageous, right? So we're all doing the work that most cannot, but we're driven by the community and what they need and what they deserve.
Yes, when I think about legacy and ARISE Detroit, along with Grace to Grow, Luther Keith is center of that. This is our 3rd year working with the Neighborhoods Day, and when I first met Luther Keith, it was all by email and by telephone. And last year I was able to meet him at the certificate program. And when I said Grace to Grow, he was like, "Oh, Kelly." It was amazing to me how he could remember who I was amongst all the people, and that he built a relationship even through email and phone. And he said I could put a face with the grace. That would always be in my heart when I think about his legacy and all the amazing things that he's doing. And it's important for me to carry that on in my own community and outside of my community because we have to keep this going.
Luther Keith has a legacy in the city of Detroit that is unmatched. All of the work has done bringing people together, bringing Detroiters together to make our lives better. You know, no one person can do it by themselves. That phrase, no man is an island, you know. And so in the city of Detroit, which often gets a bad rap, when you have people coming out like today, it shows who we really are as Detroiters.
I keep looking over like, oh, what's wrong?
As a staple in the community, we always want to honor his gift. And the gift that he's give, which was to his community and of himself, encouraged us to do the same and to keep his legacy growing and moving forward.
What Neighborhoods Day and the legacy of Luther Keith is, it's more, it hits home more this year because of his loss, because of the loss of him to the community. And it doesn't take much to get me motivated. Doesn't take much to get me motivated. But when you see like-minded people in your community that you can attach to, that has the same vision as you, it makes it even more fulfilling. It makes it even more fulfilling. I know just going and picking up kits, Luther Keith was there. He was there to greet you. You know, he just wasn't the man behind the program. He was a part of the program.
I have all kinds of stories about Luther Keith. Luther Keith was a friend of mine. He actually played on my lawn for some of the other Neighborhoods days. Luther, the blues man, Batman Keith. And Luther was a special person. He was a special person in the hearts of so many. And I understand that even he could not resist the urge to get a cane for me as he walked along with his wife, Jackie, and he bought a cane for Jackie too, customized for her. But Luther bought the biggest cane he could find because he wanted to carry that big stick. Speak softly, and he did. But we laughed. We laughed, we had a lot of fun, and had a lot of joy. And so I miss him.
Years ago, when I first went to meet with them at Rise Detroit for they had their luncheon, and as soon as I saw him, I realized that we went to school together. And we've known each other for years, and he was very dedicated to Rise Detroit, and he's a real pillar of the community, and we certainly will miss him.
Hello, everyone. We are here today for Rise Detroit's 2025 Neighborhoods Day, honoring the late Luther Keith. I have so many amazing memories of Luther Keith. He was so supportive of all Detroit organizations. Anytime we need him, we called on him, he was there. We also was featured, Epiphany Education was featured on his podcast. So the podcast, make sure you go to arisedetroit.org, check out the podcast, showcasing local nonprofits all around the city. Luther was a true Detroiter, all about us, all for us. We will remember him and we will continue his legacy and making sure that we celebrate our wonderful city of Detroit. There's no place in the world like it.
Man, Mr. Luther Keith, he was a elder in the community. He was a mentor. He was a friend. And he was just a brother. So for him and I, the ability to work with him over the years, So our track of the backpack event, and the beautiful thing I can't speak for anybody else, but for myself, working with Luther Keith was a pleasure and an honor, because one, he appreciated who he was. He brought resources when he could bring resources. When he couldn't, he'd tell you. And that was a great making of a working relationship, because at the end of the day, this was about Detroit.
We're here at Neighborhoods Day with Arise Detroit, but I am from Detroit Champions for Hope. Yes, I had got the chance to meet him. Finally, I've always heard about him because my twin knows him, but I didn't know him until I met him a few months ago. And when I met him, he was just so brilliant, and he was telling me how he got started and what made him want to do it. He wanted to do this so the people in Detroit could have a place to call their own home, and that we could do brilliant things. And he did that, and for 19 years he done it. He stood out to a lot of people, and I learned a lot about him that day, and it was just amazing to me.
My most memorable moment of Luther is his stories. Sitting in the office and hearing firsthand how Arise Detroit came about. He shared with me the blueprint of Arise Detroit, and here we are 19 years later. I can still see his handwriting. I couldn't transcribe it, but only he could do that. And then his coaching, he coached me into how he wanted Arise Detroit to look like. And I always constantly remember, what will Luther do in this moment before I make the next step or I do something with Arise Detroit. I do love Luther very much. I thank him for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this team here with Arise Detroit, and I look forward to seeing it another 20 years from now.
He gave me my first opportunity to be on the radio. That was in 2019, AM 950. It was in the wintertime. And he invited us on the show right during the Christmas time, right before Christmas. And did an interview with us. So very appreciative of the work that he's done. Neighborhood Today has been amazing for us for over the years, and just saddened that he's not a part of this Neighborhood Today and the ones in the future.
Arise Detroit, keeping the communities beautified, keeping the neighborhoods connected across the city. I've met those across on the east side, on the west side, on the north side, on the south side, all involved in Arise Detroit. This is an event, first weekend in August, to be able to connect all neighborhoods to Arise in Detroit. So we thank you on the behalf of Mr. Keith, his family, Ms. Watkins, all those that's involved, the cameraman that's present. So we thank you all on behalf of Virginia Park community.
I can't say it's one particular story. It's just, everything that he, embodies in being a good steward for the city of Detroit and its citizens. Yeah, for me, it's like when I think of Luther, that's what I think of, community, togetherness, service, and, being a good steward for the city of Detroit.
Mr. Keith was not one that I knew personally, but again, because of his initiative to start this project many, many years ago, in fact, 19 years ago, we heard about it through our Brightmoor Alliance, and we were determined to be a part. And so we got our young people involved by helping them to keep this property intact, and also to develop the garden program that was a community garden. We call it the Spirit Garden now, to keep it together. And if you can look and see this picture, there's a picture of the Spirit Garden next to this historic house. So we thank you, Mr. Keith, for all the efforts you put forth to begin this vision.
So what resonates most about Neighborhoods Day and Arise Detroit is the effort to outreach to community members so that we are uplifted. And I'm so happy to be a part of it, and our organization is happy to be a part of the community effort, that no one is left behind, that we come together as one unified force to be of service to the community. So we're happy to
collaborate with Arise Detroit in participating in Neighborhoods Day.
I am so glad you asked about the legacy of Luther Keith and Arise Detroit, because I have known Luther Keith for over 30 years. We used to work together at Detroit newspapers. Luther was one of very few in the top echelon, being an editor at the Detroit News, but he was never so busy. Every time I stopped in his office, he would just say, come on in, let's sit down and let's talk. And that's what I loved about him. He was interested in you as a person, and that's what he continued when he started Arise Detroit. Whenever you called him for information or wanted to see him to answer questions, he was always there.
He was quite a remarkable and blessed guy. Basically, hey, these are our neighborhoods. Quit asking other people to do for you and you don't do for yourself. We're living here, so it's our responsibility to clean up our own neighborhoods. So the business who are in neighborhoods and don't invest in the neighborhoods they're in he said, don't wait for them. People, clean up your neighborhood. Sweep off your own front porch. Sweep your sidewalk. Rake your leaves. But he put the pressure on the businesses to step up, and as opposed to just taking things out of the community, make them be a part and make them responsible to the beautification of the city.